Yo, what is up guys, Face here and welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and today I'm going to be going over the Caernarvon Defender, a tier 8 premium British vehicle. It was released in these lockboxes, which are basically crates. If you were silly enough to gamble on these crates, you may have received the Caernarvon, and if you have not yet gambled, is this vehicle worth the price, and should you go ahead and gamble it? Is it broken at tier 8? I'll be going over all of those questions in just this moment. There's a full review on this vehicle. I'm going to be comparing it to other equally tiered vehicles that are played very similar to this vehicle, and just give you the gist about this tank and exactly what it is. With that being said, let's head over into the comparison between the other vehicles. Okay guys, so we are in Blitzstar's comparison, and I'm going to be going over the differences between the Caernarvon, the Tech Tree Tier 8 UK vehicle. I'm going to be going over the Caernarvon Action X and its differences to the Caernarvon Defender. And overall, I'm going to be giving you guys a full-on stats breakdown on what is the difference between the Tech Tree version, the Caernarvon Action X, which has been in the game quite a while, and is a very good Tier 8 vehicle, and now finally the Caernarvon Defender, the brand new Tier 8 premium vehicle. Now, first of all, if we have a look here, the DPM is incredibly awful on the Caernarvon Defender, only sitting at 1976 compared to the Tech Tree Caernarvon having over 3000 DPM. Mind you, this is all with gun rammer, and because the Caernarvon is an autoloader, it does not have gun rammer. So if I had to switch over to calibrated shells on all of them, 1944 would be the difference between 2800 on the Caernarvon. And the Caernarvon Action X actually has less than the Tech Tree version, at sitting at about 2500, which is still almost 600 more than the Caernarvon Defender over here. On the vehicle, it is also worse than both the Caernarvon Action X and the normal Tech Tree Caernarvon, which is just not looking great for the Caernarvon Defender. However, the Alpha is where this vehicle really shines. It's sitting at 280, which is a lot higher than the difference between the Caernarvon Action X and the Tech Tree Caernarvon. So you're going to be hitting a lot harder with the Caernarvon Defender, and because it's an autoloader, it means you can actually dish out a hell of a lot of damage with those 3 shells. And as you can see here, this vehicle has 3 shells which take 3 seconds to load. The main difference between the Caernarvon Action X and the Tech Tree Caernarvon, because they both have single fire guns, which are more reliable in my opinion. However, an autoloader is definitely not the worst thing a tank can have. Moving on to aiming time, yeah, as you can see over here, that is way less than the Caernarvon Action X and the Caernarvon in the Tech Tree, sitting at 2.35 seconds. That just makes you a hell of a lot more accurate and reliable compared to the 2 guns from the other 2 tanks, sitting at 1.72 seconds. If you look at the dispersion, it is also incredibly large for the type of tank it is, and it's sitting at 0.326, which is not the worst, I will mention that. However, it would have been nice to see that it would be maybe a bit more accurate, maybe sitting at the same as the Caernarvon in the Tech Tree, but because it has a way higher alpha, it kind of makes sense that it has a worse dispersion profile. Rotation on the tank is also slower than that of the Caernarvon Action X and the Tech Tree Caernarvon. So yeah, so far everything has been incredibly bad for the Caernarvon Defender. All of it has been in the red, and basically it's been worse than both of the vehicles that we've currently had in the game for quite a while. So is there really a reason to go ahead and get the Caernarvon Defender? We'll have to just dive more into the stats here, and if we move on to the mobility of the vehicle, as you can see, the reverse speed on the Caernarvon Defender is actually pretty decent, sitting at 14 kilometers, which is 2 kilometers higher than the Caernarvon and the Caernarvon Action X, which means you can reverse a hell of a lot quicker, and this can actually mean that you can get out of situations that are pretty tough, and the vehicle can do that pretty well. However, where it really lacks is its forward maneuverability, going up to a maximum of 30 kilometers forward, which is way slower if you compare that to the Caernarvon Action X having 36 kilometers. You're losing out about 6 kilometers more in comparison to the Caernarvon Action X, and the Caernarvon, you're sitting at about a 4 kilometer decrease from that vehicle. One thing that's really good on the Caernarvon Defender is that it has a really good power to rate ratio, meaning that you're going to get to that 30 kilometers faster than any of the other 2 vehicles, which is very nice. As you can see, the effective power to rate ratio is also way larger than the other 2 vehicles, so this tank is a lot more mobile than the other 2 vehicles. However, as you can see, you might think that, okay, 36 kilometers is better, but the power to rate ratio is way better on this vehicle, and means that you can actually accelerate a lot quicker than the 2 other vehicles. But this is where the tank really sucks, is its traverse speed is a hell of a lot slower than the two other vehicles. Caernarvon in the tech tree is only down by 1 point from the 23 degrees that this tank has, but Comparison to the Action X, yeah, you're sitting at a 7-degree decrease compared to that vehicle, which is really bad. You're going to be turning like a absolute boat on land in comparison to the Caernarvon Action X. So far, credit coefficient has not been proven yet, so we do not know the coefficient of this vehicle. We'll have to wait and see in the future. Okay, so having a look in Armour Inspector on the vehicle, Caernarvon Defender obviously, and its armor. As you can see, this is a Caernarvon Defender shooting at another Caernarvon Defender, and the armor is actually pretty decent. On flat ground, you are not really going to pen this vehicle anywhere on the turret and upper hull, and as you can see, this is the tank using its standard rounds and not using its calibrated shells. If the Caernarvon Defender had to switch up to premium pen, you can actually pen the turret of this vehicle very easily. However, this is spaced armor, so at some angles it can be quite troll, but you're most likely going to pin this vehicle no problem. And that is the main issue with this tank, is that it has such a flat turret in the front, meaning that you can just pen this whole entire front area no problem, which really sucks for the vehicle. The upper plate still stays impenetrable, which is pretty nice. However, when going into a very close face hug here, as you can see, that upper plate becomes extremely weak. When you switch up to calibrated shells, yeah, it just means that this tank turns into an absolute pancake, and you can pen it no problem, which really sucks. The tank cannot side scrape. At very steep angles, it can side scrape, but you're not really going to bounce shells through the side of this vehicle. As you can see, that turret is extremely weak on this tank, meaning that most of the time, you're going to get penned, and it's going to suck for you. 35mm in the back of the tank means that you can actually pen this vehicle no problem with high explosive. As you can see, the white meaning that it can go straight through, no problem. Alright guys, why don't we head into the equipment that are on this vehicle. If you're interested, this will kind of help you identify what you can possibly run on the vehicle. First of all, I'm running calibrated shells. I am then running enhanced gun length drive and vertical stabilizer. Like I've mentioned in the past, running these two together just means that you're a hell of a lot more accurate when on the move. The second row, I'm running defense system, and then enhanced armor, and then enhanced tracks. However, with this vehicle, I do want to mention that because the armor is not the greatest, when going hull down, you can use that armor effectively, and that enhanced armor when hull down can make sure that your turret isn't as easy to pen. On the final row, I am running improved optics, engine accelerator, and high-end consumables. Consumables and provisions wise, there's nothing really special here, so you can quickly go through it, but I'm going to get straight into a live battle for you guys to see exactly how this tank plays on the battlefield. Alright guys, so heading into a live battle on Port Bay with the Caernarvon Defender. And as you've seen, stat-wise, this vehicle is not doing great compared to its brethren at the same tier. Both other Caernarvons in the game do way better in terms of every single attribute besides its alpha. So we're going to have to see exactly how this tank plays, but as you can see, that traverse speed being very, very slow on the vehicle, but the gun depression will hopefully help us out here, and maybe we can get some decent bounces from the vehicle. We are in a tier 7 battle, so this is the best case scenario for this tank, and it just means that we are possibly going to bounce shells a lot easier, since the enemy's team's caliber is a lot weaker than ours. Looks like my team has actually decided to go right side on this map, which really sucks because it means like a tank for the Caernarvon, you're not really going to be able to go hull down on this vehicle. However, I'm going to still try and get some shells out here. As you can see, that aiming time being very, very bad in comparison to the other vehicles. I am taking extremely long to reload here, or at least aim in and get the shots out. However, we do still manage to get all 3 of our shells out. And that 3-second interclip reload means that you can put out the shells extremely quick. And now that this tank is actually an autoloader, different to the both other Caernarvons, means that you are a lot more different than other tanks, and you do get a different playstyle from this vehicle than you would rather from the Caernarvon Action X or normal Caernarvon. I'm going to get a shot into that AMX if I can there, and as you can see, the reload not being too bad. But the one thing that I really think sucks on this tank is its overall reload. Up to 20 seconds you're going to be waiting to shoot 3 shells that don't have that much alpha at tier 8. Yeah, it's not going to look great for you, and you're probably going to struggle damage-wise because this tank takes so long to reload. However, in this situation against the light tank, this is one of the best situations I can have. Because light tanks don't really have the most pen, it means that I can bounce a hell of a lot more shells from them. And as you can see, that pen on this vehicle, even its standard rounds are pretty decent enough that I can actually pen that T25 TAT no problem. In this situation, I'm getting pummeled by these 2 light tanks, unfortunately. I wish my team would help me out here, but it's not looking too great for me right now. And in this situation, I'm going to hope to try and kill this 25 AT. Maybe do a little bit of a side scrape here. I'm going to put a shot into his side and hopefully get another shot out here in just a moment. I'm going to kill him, and we do end up dying here, guys. But we still managed to pull out 2,500 damage. So this tank, mind you, has a hell of a lot less DPM. Even though I died here, I was able to put so much damage out very quickly. And this just explains how an autoloader can be so incredibly strong. Okay, so mind you, we do end up still winning this battle, not doing the most amount of damage here. So I do think we should head into another battle just because of how lackluster the previous game was, and hopefully we can get a better outcome here that we can maybe survive. This time we are on Faust, and last game the armor kind of did struggle when we were not fully held down, and that is just going to be the case with this tank. As you saw, as soon as I was unable to be basically held down, people were penning me no problem, especially those tank destroyers. Even if they're tier 7, they're going to pen you no problem. So in this situation, I really want to get into a state that I'm only showing my turret, because obviously that is the most strongest part of this vehicle, despite the very slanted upper hull. Now, in this situation, as you can see, I am actually slower than a T2020 over here, which is a very decent Russian heavy tank in terms of its armor, especially frontally. That tank is way better suited to side scraping and just bounce shells compared to this vehicle. So the fact that he is quicker than us just really shows you how bad the power to weight ratio on this vehicle, at least not power to weight, but the top speed at least on this vehicle is. As you can see, that 20-second reload being also extremely long. And this just basically means most of your games you're going to be sitting behind cover and waiting for those shells. However, when it does come time to dump those shells, it is very fast at doing so and can be quite fun in my opinion. Now in this situation, there is a tier 7 player over there, also an autoloader. We managed to put one shell into him and he managed to back up before we were able to put another one into his vehicle. This tank does have APCR, which means that you do have a better chance at penning steeper angles. However, which does mean that you have a decent shell, but you're not really going to have the best shell in the game. APCR is one of the worst premium pens that you could possibly have, and it just means that most of the time you're going to be wishing you had either heat or premium AP. In this situation, as you can see through the turret of that tank, we do bounce one, but if we reload here and maybe put another shot out, as you can see the accuracy being not the greatest in that situation. I mean, we haven't really had an issue penning or hitting anybody so far, but in this situation we have missed our shells. Now, I'm not sure if I was blocking that T2020 over there. However, I was in the spot that he was easily able to reverse around me. So if I was the reason for his death there, I am very sorry, but you were easily able to get around me there. Now, in this situation, I just want to hit some shells. As you can see, the camo not the greatest either. And there's that CS that keeps spotting me. So if I can put some shells into him, that will be greatly appreciated. I get penned once again, and I believe it was through the side of this vehicle. Because this tank is so tall, in this situation or in this position that I'm in currently, it just means that most of the time I'm not really going to bounce shells. That alpha being 280 alpha, I actually have not seen this tank roll higher than that, which is very unfortunate. For a tank like this, you would really hope that it would hit those or higher rolls, because that is what this tank needs to do in order to get the damage out. In this situation, I don't want to get penned too easily, but as you can see, that M6 here at that angle is able to pen the roof of my tank, which is supposed to be one of the strongest parts of your vehicle. So that is very unfortunate that he managed to pen that no problem. Hopefully we can get one more shell out onto that player over there, and maybe even a third one. And we do manage to miss that shell, but it's not a biggie. As I mentioned, this tank actually has a decent reverse speed, meaning that I can possibly get out here quicker than any other Caernarvon tank out there. I do manage to bounce a decent shell. Glad that did bounce, because yeah, in this situation here, we're definitely going to lose this game, but it's definitely not the tank's fault. My team kind of died very quickly here, which is very unfortunate. One thing you can see very lackluster on this tank is that camera rating and that view range. As you can see, I am missing or not spotting any of these tanks on my enemy team, which really sucks. And even in this situation, I am getting penned directly through the side of the vehicle and under that enemy carcass. So this is extremely unfortunate for the vehicle. Wasn't the greatest game, but I do think that this tank is a great damage dealer. So if you're someone who wants to do damage, this tank is definitely going to be the tank for you. If you can get this tank into a hold on situation, most of the time people are going to be bouncing your vehicle and they're not really going to pen you. As you can see in this situation, the turret and the side armor of this tank is so weak that sometimes they do just go straight through you, and this tank is definitely not that frontline vehicle that is going to bounce off the shells. As you guys can see in our second game, we did end up losing this battle, but we still managed to do a decent amount of damage, and for the tank that it is, it does do damage extremely quickly and pretty easily, I must say. So overall, my opinions on this vehicle, there's not much point in getting this tank if you already have something like the Action X or the Tech Tree Caernarvon, because both those vehicles are going to give you the same as this tank despite not having those auto-loaded guns. Now those tanks all have single fire, very quick reload guns, which in my opinion is still more fun than the Caernarvon Defender's autoloader. So in my opinion, definitely not a worthwhile tank to go and spend your money on. In my opinion, the fact that you can get a tier 8 tech tree vehicle that is basically going to be majority better than the Caernarvon Defender just gives you an example why this tank is not that worth it. Overall, guys, I'm not the biggest fan of this tank. I mean, its autoloader can dish out a lot of damage, but overall, not the greatest tank out there, and definitely lackluster compared to many other tier 8 vehicles. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I greatly appreciate it. That's it for me today, guys. Hope your shots hit their marks, and I'll check you in the next one. Cheers.